Okay.
Hi everyone. I think we are live. I think this is working. Debbie here. If you are watching us live, then just drop an emoji in the comments so that I know you're there. And if you're watching on replay, hopefully this will work and you'll be able to see this later. If you're watching a replay, then just drop a hashtag replay and your emoji, and I can come back and say hi. Okay, so today, as you can see, I am joined by the lovely Sue Thomas of Sue Thomas Wellbeing. She is, like me, a wellbeing mentor, and we are going to have a conversation about all things gut health and why it should be something on our radar. Just to say, I've worked with Sue for probably about 6 years now. Is that about
Yeah, I
right
think
there?
it's about that. Yeah.
And I think some of you in the group may know her too. So without further ado, I mean, I think we just kick off in simple terms. Sue, why is gut health so important?
Okay, so it's been some time that they've been doing research into the health of the microbiome, which is all the bacteria in your intestine. And really only in the last kind of 10 years, they've begun to understand just how important the diversity of that bacteria and the range, if you like, of bacteria in our intestine, how much of an impact that has on the rest of how our body functions. So the gut bacteria weighs about 2 kilograms. So it's a huge, important part of the body, and essentially is its own an organ in its own right, essentially. And depending on the makeup and the structure and the diversity of that gut bacteria, it will have an impact on the rest of your body. So it can have an impact on how strong your immune system is. It can have an impact on how well balanced your hormones are. It can have an impact on how much energy you have on a day-to-day basis and how well you sleep at night. It's just huge. They're discovering more and more in terms of how important the gut bacteria is. And where it started was with a guy, really Tim Spector, and actually there's a great podcast that you want to share in the group with Tim Spector and Rangan Chatterjee that was done a couple of weeks ago, just on how we're all different and how our gut, the bacteria in our intestine is different and needs to be diverse, and how to support it, basically. But Tim Spector did this study with twins, and basically identical twins. What they did is they took different samples of the gut microbiome from the two sets of twins. One of the twins was carrying more weight than they should have done, and the other one was leaner. And they identified basically that there was a real difference in the gut bacteria. And they took the microbiome samples and they put them into mice. And those mice started to develop the same characteristics in terms of either gaining weight or staying lean, as the twin that they'd taken the microbiome sample from. So started to go, well, actually, there's something in here, really. Not only does it have an impact on weight management, but what else does it have an impact on as well? And now they're starting to see just how important it is from a toxicity point of view, keeping toxins and acting as a barrier to prevent toxins passing across the gut wall. We're starting to see how the impact that it has on things like thyroid function and estrogen and progesterone balance, and how the body reabsorbs toxicity when the liver's trying to get rid of it. You know, the research that's coming out around the microbiome now is absolutely huge. And at the minute, with immunity being so high on the agenda as well, in terms of just the impact that the gut bacteria has on the strength of our immunity, a stronger, more diverse gut bacteria will mean you have a stronger immune system, and you're able to cope and prevent, or the body's able to prevent you from contracting illnesses and stuff. So it's huge, absolutely huge. And it's one of those things that up until now we've not really recognized just how important it is to how the body functions.
Yeah. So obviously, as part of this group, we are all about menopause, and a few things that you touched on there are quite significant for this population. I've talked in the group before about autoimmunity, about gut health. We've touched on it as part of our 7-day waistline challenge and 5-day plant food challenge. I haven't gone into I guess the backgrounds of it, where it starts when we're born. Is that something you're able to just talk through?
Absolutely. So when we are born, as we pass down the birth canal, we take gulps of fluid, that allows for the gut bacteria to start to become established in the intestine. So if you're a C-section birth, you never will have had that opportunity to take those gulps of fluid in order for the bacteria to start to form. So if you're a C-section birth, you're on a bit of a back foot to start with. And a lot of clients that I work with, I see those issues coming from, if they're a C-section birth, the issues start to come to the surface later in life, whether it's acne as a teenager, IBS, sort of digestive upsets in their late teens and into their 20s, and then hormone imbalances beginning to develop into their 30s, and then menopause hitting quite severely in their 40s. And you can trace that right back to really not having the opportunity for the gut not having the opportunity to form the diversity of gut bacteria from an early age. And even if you are born naturally, in the first 3 weeks to 6 months, that's when the gut bacteria really creates diversity and really gets really solidly established. And if mum is, for example, breastfeeding and ends up with an infection and has to take antibiotics, that can have a huge impact on the child's diversity of gut bacteria. And I can give you a great example of that. I myself, with my youngest daughter, I had a womb infection when she was 3 weeks old, and as she developed, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, she just seemed to get consistent ear infections all the time. I just couldn't understand why she was getting these ear infections, and every time we treated it with antibiotics because she was getting these ear infections, and actually that was making the problem worse. And once I started to understand more about how the gut microbiome has an impact, I realized that that set of antibiotics that I'd had as a breastfeeding mum had destroyed her own gut bacteria, and I'd never given her the opportunity to replenish that. So she just now takes consistently a probiotic every day. Just that's part of her little routine that she does. And it didn't take long for us to be able to get to the point where we would get through the winter without having numerous ear infections. It's still a bit of a weak link for her. If she gets a cold, it sometimes can hurt, but it isn't anything like it used to be. And we've managed to break that cycle of antibiotics and stuff. But she just takes it now as a matter of course, because those antibiotics I had when she was a tiny baby has basically had a consequence later on in her life. And that is not an uncommon scenario for many people.
Yeah, I think we've experienced a similar thing. So both of my two were delivered by C-section, and back in that day, and that wasn't that long ago. You know, my eldest is 12. I think nowadays they take the the microbiome, and they actually give it to baby in that situation. So that is not necessarily the case now, but I didn't have that when I had my children. And my eldest has he's on the asthma register, but he has he gets a wheeze when he gets hay fever in the summer. It's obviously getting better, but he's on a probiotic as often as he will remember to take it, for that very reason. And that's really interesting that it can actually sort of go right through your life.
Absolutely. A lot of clients that get in touch with me will I will I have a conversation with them, we scratch it right back, and I will say to them, did you take the banana medicine when you were a child? Did you have ear infections, tonsillitis, any sort of upper respiratory tract infections can be an indication that your gut microbiome is not working properly. And most of my clients will have had that scenario as a child, if not having been born by C-section.
Sure. Okay, well that's really helpful, really interesting to just understand a bit more about that. So just moving into today's climate, we're talking a lot about immunity, and which is obviously very prevalent with COVID and everything that's going on around us today. So how does the gut microbiome tie in with immunity?
So about 90% of your immunity is in your intestines. So you've got something called the innate immune system, which is all the kind of membranes where your internal body meets the external world. So your nose, your eyes, your ears, and your gut, your hands, and your gut microbiome is one of those barriers, if you like, to prevent things passing across into the cardiovascular system. So the bacteria in your intestine will communicate with the rest of the body. If it perceives a virus that is in the intestine, wants to neutralize, it will communicate with the rest of the body, tell the immune system to create the right cells to neutralize that virus and get rid of it. So the first most important thing is that A, it acts as a barrier to prevent anything passing across, and B, it acts as a communication signaling system, if you like, to tell the body that actually something has got across and we need to neutralize it and get rid of it. That's the first part of the immune system. And then the second part is the adaptive immune system. So the adaptive immune system is when you are exposed to a virus, the T cells and the B cells will adapt themselves basically to be able to neutralize that virus, but then be there for the future so that they can neutralize any of the same virus that might get across the gut wall in the future. And the gut microbiome is communicating all the time with the B cells and the T cells to ensure that they are functioning in the way that they should be functioning. And then on top of that, if you add sleep into that equation, so your gut microbiome is creating your melatonin, which is allowing you to get a better quality sleep.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting good quality sleep, one of the consequences of not getting a good quality sleep is that your T cell productivity, if you like, its ability to be able to fight viruses drops by 70%. So you've got kind of many prongs, if you like, of your immune system is intertwined with your gut bacteria in so many ways. It's not just about it being a barrier to stop viruses getting across. It's about how the body reacts to certain things, in this case melatonin, for example, to be able to ensure that the immune system is working in the best way that it should be working. So there's a whole load of things that the gut microbiome is absolutely crucial for, really.
Okay, yeah. And just talking there about sleep, obviously that's one of many scenarios that don't necessarily go our way through perimenopause to menopause. So how, again, it's like actually it's coming back to the gut microbiome to help resolve some of those issues as well. Like you say, it's quite a global thing. Next week we're talking about bone health, and there's, I believe, a link from gut microbiome to bone health, so perhaps you can expand on that.
So just in terms of calcium absorption across the gut wall, I mean the link from the gut microbiome to bone health, to cardiovascular health, to immunity, to hormone balance is huge. Yeah, you could just go, it's got a link with that, it's got a link with that. And you can just basically, mental health, it all links into the gut microbiome. So anything you want to choose, if your gut microbiome is not working properly, it's going to, that it really is the foundation. That 2,500-year-old saying, all disease begins in the intestine, it absolutely does, because it's all microbiome related. So having a healthy functioning microbiome means you'll absorb calcium across the gut wall more efficiently. Obviously there's a number of other nutrients you need to be considering in there as well. You need magnesium to absorb calcium effectively, you need lots of vitamin D, and the gut microbiome is important for metabolizing a lot of the nutrients that we need for bone health as well. So just, I would say that yes, it's important for bone health, but actually it's important for general health, because everything that is absorbed across the gut wall, it's either going to be filtered effectively or it's not going to be filtered, and therefore that's going to have an impact on your health, or it's going to be absorbed efficiently because the gut microbiome is working properly, and the metabolism of the different nutrients and stuff all taking place in the intestine, so that the body can utilize and use them effectively across the body.
Okay, all right, that's fantastic, and really sort of well explained. I think it's right at the heart of everything. Whatever symptoms we're experiencing, we need to take a good look at what's going there, and absorption is where it's at, in terms of turning things around. So we are what we absorb is a real thing.
But I mean, the gut microbiome is so incredibly powerful in terms of how the body, how I've lost my train of thought there in terms of what I was going to contribute to that bit of the conversation. very frustrating. That's such a menopause symptom, isn't it? That
Yeah,
you just,
yeah.
I was thinking that's really important, but then I've lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me in a minute.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll try and fill in for
Yeah.
that. But I mean, yeah. So we've talked about, in terms of like improving gut health. You know, we've talked about eating the right types of foods, and not only that, but also, you know, just kind of really not eating, making sure that we're not eating the wrong types of foods to support that. So it's all been about green leafy veg. And, you know, I mean, maybe I'll allow you to kind of, you know, I've talked about this many times, so I'll allow somebody else to come in and say you know, say all of that. So
well, what we want to be doing is we want to be creating the most diverse population as possible in
yeah,
the gut microbiome. So you want to be aiming for about 30 different species of fruit and veg a week. So, you know, if you're having pepper and carrot and peas, for example, you can't just keep repeating those every day. You've got to have 30 different species. That's the first most important thing in order to get that gut microbiome to flourish. And what those substances, what those foods contain, are lots and lots of fibers in the form of something called short chain fatty acids that basically feed the good bacteria in the intestine. They're a prebiotic. They support the good bacteria. They allow the population to grow and become more diverse. And then you need lots of other fibers in the forms of things like millet and buckwheat and quinoa. All of those are great, you know, the inulin as well, great prebiotics that feed the good bacteria. And if you can really focus on getting lots of plant-based proteins into your diet and lots of those colors on your plate. So you should always have, you know, when I work with clients, I tell them, you know, you need a minimum of a traffic light on your plate, if not a rainbow. And every plate needs to be kind of full of colors, because if you can get those colors on your plate and you can get some good quality protein in there as well, then you're really going to be feeding the good bacteria and supporting it and helping it to develop. And I read a great quote some months ago. Only your mum and cares for you more and cares about your well-being more than your gut bacteria does. No one else cares for you as much as your gut bacteria does. So, you know, loving your gut bacteria and giving your gut bacteria all the support and nurturing that it needs from all the right quality foods is really, really important.
because they are real life organisms, aren't they? I mean, you know, they're
Yeah.
having their own little conversation down there,
Yeah,
and, you know, they're
absolutely.
fighting
Yeah.
for, you know, position. And I guess lots of sugars, bad fats, we're feeding the bad guys, and they're like overrunning. And if we're not feeding the good bacteria, they're just wasting away. So looking at it from that perspective, it makes it much more, I guess, much more fun to pick and, you know, to eat the right foods, I guess. And I think it's all about understanding that, having a greater understanding of what's actually going on, rather than just be told, oh, well, you know what, you should eat more greens, or you know, red fruits or whatever, just to kind of have that level of understanding. It's like, okay, this is why I'm doing this. Because I think it's definitely, you know, we kind of creatures of habit, and we tend to, you know, go along with what tastes good and what looks good and our favorite foods and all of this kind of stuff, which can actually take us completely away from what we really, you know, in terms of managing our health or managing our well-being on a day-to-day basis throughout, you know, perimenopause, or, you know, this phase. It's really important.
And it's very easy to get sidetracked into what's healthy, or what large food companies think would like you to believe is healthy, and what is actually really very healthy.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've had many conversations. I think 80% of the supermarket is you know, really not helpful for us. We, you know, and we need to be focusing on the 20% whole foods. It's really, that's what it is, isn't it? It's whole foods. And just making our own, making it from scratch, and throwing all that goodness in there.
If you can't pick it, dig it, or kill it, don't eat it, basically.
That's an old favorite of yours, Sue. Love that. Anything else that we maybe need to throw in there that you can think of that will help
in terms of gut health and having it? Well, one of the things that I think is really, really important to understand is the liver and the intestine work really closely together. So having the liver working properly is really, really important, because particularly from perimenopause, because the liver will be detoxifying any excess estrogen that the body doesn't need, and any chemical estrogens that we've been exposed to on a day-to-day basis. Now, if the liver's is sluggish and not working properly, it's not going to be able to expel those toxins out of the system. But if the liver's working properly, but the intestine's not working properly, then the intestine's not going to be able to clear those toxins out of the system efficiently. We need the intestine to be working efficiently, so moving waste through at least a bowel movement twice a day. Basically, that's what you want to be really focusing on, because that's the way that the body's going to expel those toxins. Because if the waste moves too slowly, we can reabsorb some of those toxins back into the system, and you get this cycle of kind of reabsorption. And if your gut bacteria is really diverse, it creates a level of enzymes to prevent that reabsorption from happening. So if you've got a really good diverse bacteria, and you've got good strong motility of waste through your intestine, then you're going to go a long way to preventing yourself from reabsorbing those toxins. And it's those toxins that are causing a lot of our perimenopause and menopause symptoms on a day-to-day basis. So the more we can support our gut to clear waste, the better, basically. The body is a very sophisticated machine. It will tell you if there's something wrong. So if you're struggling with IBS or bloating on a day-to-day basis, that's your body telling you that there's something wrong with your digestive system, and you need to support it. You need to clean it, get it working efficiently, so that it can metabolize the nutrients that you are consuming more effectively.
And that's it. It's like symptoms are a sign. They're there, they're helpful. They're there to for you to listen to and observe and pay attention. So we've talked about that in this group before, as we have about bowel health as well. It's like you say, it's important to kind of keep things moving to make sure that excess estrogens and toxins aren't reabsorbed into the body. So I've got posts out there on bowel health too. So well, thank you very much for your insight today. It's been really helpful, and this ties in, like I've said, this week, this is like what I'm calling promotion week. It's like Black Friday week. So one of the programs that I deliver is the Pure 21 program. It's a 21-day optimal health challenge that is designed to reset, rebalance and rebuild the gut and your gut health, essentially. So things like improved digestion, it supports the body's detoxification systems, we've just touched on. It improves the body's ability to remove toxins that are causing us to either hold on to excess weight or giving us symptoms of perimenopause, and it improves hormone balance. It's for anyone who struggles to manage weight gain, especially around the tummy. If you are experiencing poor sleep or lack of energy, brain fog, headaches, recurring joint pain, those kinds of things, it's really helpful for, along with any kind of like low mood, depression, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or diabetes, and in particular if you're suffering with any autoimmune conditions, this is ideal for you. I am going to pop the details of this program in a link below, so that you can have a closer look at that. And if you guys have any questions for either myself or Sue, then just pop them in below this live video, and one of us will be able to jump on and answer them for you. So that's kind of it for us, I think. It just leaves me to thank Sue for your time. Thank you so much for coming on today. And just you do that so well. It's just all that great information. So thank you, and we'll answer any questions that you have, and we'll see you again soon. Take care for now. Bye.
Bye.